Previously on X-Men.
Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. No, that's not what we're doing. I guess that's what it is. Okay, I'm Mick. I'm joined every episode by my lovely, talented co-host
Tyson. Yeah, no, I think this is what we're doing. I don't know. We're doing another handheld game, everybody. So
yeah, we're back in we're in our X-Men trilogy. So what did I forget what I said on the last one? Previously on X-Men. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Working title? Yeah, I think that's what...
No, I think that's what we went with.
Okay.
That's at least what got published, so I think that's what we're going with.
And, like, there was a song... Oh, it was really loud. That's what it was, too. And I'm definitely going to tune it down for this one, so it's not going to be like, previously on X! And you're like, oh my gosh, why is it yelling at me?
It's like, please, sir, I wear headphones.
Yeah, and I went to change it, like, the next day, and my computer wouldn't let me. They're like, we don't know what you're asking us to do. And I was like, well, I just want you to save. I've just lowered the volume at that 2 seconds of this audio file. Just resave it. And they're like, nah, we can't do that. And I'm like, whatever.
Can't find directory.
That's what I was
like,
getting.
What
and I was
does
like,
that mean?
no, I'm saving it to the same spot. Like, just oversave this. And nah, it's not a thing computers can do. We can't rewrite files. Okay.
Yeah, like that's... Come on, what do you think this is? Some sort of computer?
Yeah, I was like, what is this? This is... No, whatever. So apparently my computer dumb. So, sorry about that. But this one can be a little quieter. We still know what we're doing, though. So that's pretty exciting.
Yep. Keeping everybody in suspense.
There you go. So we're looking at a trilogy of X-Men games on the Sega systems. Maybe we'll get to the Nintendo versions later next year, probably, maybe. But this year specifically, these X-Men games, because when we were kids, we never had X-Men games for our Super Nintendo or our NESs or our N64s. What we had them on was our Sega systems. And man, we loved these games dearly. Like this little gem today, X-Men, just called that, for the Game Gear. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a deep passion for this game. It's it's super pixelated, but you know what? These games, these Game Gear games, were like legendary as kids. So if you had a friend that had them, they were like, "You're my best friend. Can I borrow this?"
Oh, I might pull the trigger on this because I noticed I forgot to fill out a part of my notes. And as we're talking, I might make a live purchase on this podcast. So here we go. So X-Men. So developed by Sega. No sales data, not even a sniff. It was released in January of 1994. How long to beat has this game at 5 hours? That seems wrong.
Yeah, maybe if you don't know
play it 5 times?
Yeah, exactly. It's like get lost and die a lot?
Yeah.
Question mark?
Like if you play
this is the blind playthrough.
And the 2 sequels?
Yeah, maybe.
And then
exactly.
eBay price, I think I just found a copy for $16 shipped to my house. Am I pulling the trigger on this?
$16.
$16.
Dang, that's cheaper than the game that was $17 last time.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and this is like a cherished part of my memory, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if it works, it's like just for the soundtrack alone. Come on,
item
that's
description.
Where, like, I've spent more money on stupid like Bon Jovi CDs in my lifetime.
In good condition. In theory, it works. Buy it now.
Well,
all right.
Yeah, I'm glad we're encouraging this habit.
Pay with passcode, sure. Apple Pay. Let's do it, guys. All right. So I just bought it.
Sold.
And now we'll flash forward 5 weeks in the future where I own a physical copy of this game, and that's how I played this game for this podcast. Wow, we're back.
Yeah, and I just have an eidetic memory because I played these games as children. That's how I know these games.
That's it. We did things legally. All right, so I almost hung up on Tyson there. I'll put my phone away because I don't need to look at that while I'm talking. Where to play? Only on the Game Gear or an emulator. So if you're a dirty pirate, you won't pay $16 to own this game. But you'd also have to buy a Game Gear, which is probably like a couple $100. It's a very expensive purchase to play this hour game.
100%. And I mean, I know there's like browsers, like websites that potentially have this game. And shame on those websites for having such easy access and controller functionality.
Yeah, that's such a terrible thing that they have. As we're going through this recap, what else? Development details. There's not a lot to be said about some of these games, so I might have just copied the entire Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, you have lots of notes for saying that there's not a lot of notes.
Well, I mean, some of them are like tell you literally what happens in this game. So, I don't know. Get through it, see what happens. And then controls, first memories. Then we can talk a little bit more poetically about how this game lives fondly in our memories before we get into it. So, here we go. X-Men is a video game that was released in 1994 for the Sega Game Gear, featuring the X-Men superhero team. In the game, most of the X-Men have been captured by Magneto. Only Wolverine and Cyclops escaped the initial assault on the X-Men headquarters and are available for play at the start of the game. Players rescue the other X-Men and use them and their abilities to defeat Magneto. Players defeat enemies and navigate levels by punching, kicking, and jumping. Mutant abilities can be activated and deactivated. Wow. However, these mutant abilities drain the energy from the player's characters. A new playable character is unlocked after finishing each level, including Storm, Rogue, Psylocke, Nightcrawler, and Iceman. There are several foes for the X-Men universe to defeat, including Callisto, Sauron, Sebastian Shaw, Omega Red, a Brood Queen, and Magneto. Each boss has their own stage on various diverse settings from the X-Men, including Morlock Tunnel, Savage Land, Hellfire Club, Madripoor, Brood World, and Avalon. These levels are often labyrinths of each either technological wonders, biological wonders, or a mixture of both. As more X-Men are rescued, these allies can be called upon to take over as the player's characters. Magneto serves as the final boss of the game. In the United States, it was a top-selling Game Gear game in February in 1994. I wonder if other top-selling Game Gear games there were. X-Men received a highly positive review from GamePro, who commented, X-Men Game Gear squeezes all the action and graphics into its 4 megs of marvelous comic book mayhem. The long levels are complex enough to keep your battery bill high, and challenge is strong enough to keep you busy in the back seat for that long drive to grandma's house. That's why I included that quote, because I was like, it is, yeah, all right.
This quote, this is a very accurate review, actually. Like, whoever wrote this was like, hats off. This is fantastic. Wait, you actually nailed it. Because, like, yeah, it is impressive how much they actually squeezed into this tiny little game. Because this game, I mean, I wish now modern X-Men, or we had modern X-Men games that actually gave us multiple characters to play, and we can unlock different characters from, playing a level and saving them. Like, this is such a neat idea on paper, and it seems to everybody's just like let it die in the past when you're like, well, this is awesome. Give me more of this.
Executed brilliantly, like exactly how it's kind of laid out is how the world plays out. They're actually characters, right? If you kind of know anything from the comic lore, even like the side characters, it's like the Morlock tunnels. Like, there's this weird little like twisty blue man. I don't know what he is, but like for the most part, they're actually like characters. Like the Hellfire Clubs look like Hellfire Club members, right? Like they have the proper attires. They're kind of like gangsters. The guys in Avalon look like Magneto's acolytes, right? So it's I don't know. I think it's done fairly well. It's pretty cute.
Yep.
Right?
There's even like ninjas and stuff.
Yeah.
Like and like the broods are awesome. Like I love me some broods, and it's so cool to actually like play against them. Like they kind of look like scary. Like I remember like like them being a little scared of them as a kid, and you're like, man, this is so amazing how like these developers just really squeezed as much as they could. And I'm sure it was like a 6-people team, like because it's like nobody. The credits just like fly by.
It's pretty small at the end. Like you just clip through it, and you're like, that is it. Neat. All right, cool.
Yeah. And they're like, here's a bunch of pixel art.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Awesome. So with that, that's it. So it's the controls of this game. Like I said in the last section, you can move around, jump, punch. You can turn your mutant powers on and off. You complete levels to unlock more characters after the initial pair of Wolverine and Cyclops. And the characters are ranked, because I read some like walkthrough of how to get through this. Iceman is the strongest, then Rogue, then Storm, followed by Cyclops, Wolverine, Psylocke, and Nightcrawler.
No wonder we struggled as kids, because all of our favorite characters are in the bottom half of that.
100%. I was like, as soon as I was like, what do you mean Nightcrawler sucks? And I was like playing him in one part, and I was like, man, he does suck. And I was like, oh. And then I played a Psylocke, and I was like, oh, she's even worse. I was like, oh gosh, this is.
Yeah, then you play as like Wolverine, you're like, God, he's awful. And then you start playing as like Cyclops, and you're like, okay, this game is passable.
Yeah, like, oh my gosh,
then,
it's.
yeah.
Yeah, and like the fact there's two different level difficulties, so there's piece of cake and I forget what this normal difficulty is called, but on easy, piece of cake, you actually don't get access to Iceman or Rogue, so you're missing the two most powerful characters. So trying to play this game on easy is actually harder than if you played it on hard.
Yeah, so silly. And like Rogue and Storm can fly.
Yeah.
Everybody else can kind of like double jump.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, except Nightcrawler, who just has a really high jump. So you're even like handicapped with just like he just like jumps really high, and I'm like, I see.
yeah, but I can climb on walls, and you're like, yeah, but that doesn't do anything if I want to just jump vertically.
Yeah.
It's like, poor Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
He's not so good.
He kind of sucks. Difficulty that terrible strategy for Magneto. Before we get into the story, I guess we could talk about that. If you're going to capture all the X-Men, you probably want to capture like Wolverine and Cyclops and not leave those two. I mean, I realize they like have butted heads in the past in the canon, but like they're probably the most competent members of the team.
Yeah, and you definitely want to like probably grab Storm as well, because she's also kind of like, the secondary leader. So
Yeah. She's
like pretty, like, definitely grab her. So smart move there.
Yep.
But like just skipping Cyclops and Wolverine, you're like, what are you doing? Like, get rid of these two, and like the X-Men will be chasing their tails for way longer. But.
Yeah, and like good job, kudos to them for like being able to capture the Rogues and the Nightcrawlers and the Icemen of the world. So like initially strong assault, it was an A+, but like being able to hold them, not so good.
Yep. Well, I'm just impressed that like, how do you keep Nightcrawler
in a mansion?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the Hellfire Club has like psychic. So like Emma Frost, you see in the Sebastian Shaw kind of like, so each level starts generally with like a nice kind of artist rendering of the characters. It's because they have White Queen, like Emma Frost. Maybe she mind controlled him to stay.
Oh, probably.
Right?
Or like got his like mind trapped in a box.
He's like, oh, guten Tag, look at all this Bratwurst, German. Oh, this is so nice. Oh, look at this cuckoo clock. And he's like, this is really nice. Huh, all right.
I'm okay gonna stay here. This seems like a good place.
This is guten Tag.
I'm comfortable.
Huh, all right, good. Excellent. Wait, does guten Tag mean hello?
I think so.
All right, yes. I'm sorry for all our German listeners that I offended you by saying this is guten Tag, so... Oh, well.
Yeah. We should really learn German.
That's such a key demographic that we lost. Damn it.
Curses. We'll never be successful.
Oh, well, that's too bad. So first memories of this fun game. Now we got through the nitty-gritty. A friend of mine had this game. I would borrow it and play through it again and again and again. And once I made it to Magneto while playing as Nightcrawler. And he was so terrible I couldn't land a hit, so I just like teleported in this little room and like sat there and just was like questioned what I was doing with my life. So it was pretty fun.
Yep. I remember also playing it when you brought it over. I didn't get to play through it a lot, but there was like, I remember like being stuck in the Morlock cave.
Oh.
Being able to beat Callisto pretty like easily. It's like, wow, this character sucks. And then I think I would do the Brood one.
Okay.
And like, I don't think I could beat it as a kid, but now that I play it again, it's like, this is the easiest level in the game. How could I ever like not beat this? There's literally health everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just like this game. It's so funny. Like the sound effects. It has it's off or annoying are the two options, and that's just brilliant. Like I and the music's so like timeless and like gets stuck in your head, and I still remember all these music to this day. So.
Oh, and the one thing we didn't talk about in our last like X-Men Game Gear maybe has some of the most atrocious music ever. It is hard to listen to. This one is as annoying, but it's like catchy annoying. Versus I think the X-Men for the Genesis is like borderline almost unlistenable, some of it.
Yeah, and sometimes it just has like way too much bass and reverb, but the Sega is just like, it can't it doesn't do that well very often, so it kind of like comes out muddied and
Yeah.
But this was like lots of beeps and boops, and like it's probably just nothing but nostalgia because I'm sure other people that didn't play this game as kids probably would find this irritating, but I like it a lot. I think it's like
the boss music's ingrained in my head, right? Like all of a sudden you're walking along and you hear this doom 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 doom, and you're like, yeah, I'm in for a battle here. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like I got this. This is easy.
Yeah.
So
super fun. So
it's
other first memories. That's kind of it, right? It's just one of those ones, and because it lives in our childhood nostalgia. This and actually Clone Wars. So the next game, the second game for the Genesis. I fondly remember playing those games a lot, and now I own both of them, so that's fun for only $16. Thank you, eBay.
Yeah. You're driving up the price, Mick. Now when I buy my copy, then travel back or travel forward 5 weeks, and here I am.
Yes.
It'll be good because you're just making. I'll be $17 or like 6.
So I had one.
$18.
So I had one saved for 20. There's one out there for like 19 with free shipping, and I remember looking at it, and I like almost pulled the trigger on it before today, and then I kind of just quickly Google searched it. I saw it was cheaper than 19, and I was like, well, that's a no-brainer to buy. So
it's like, well, if I was gonna spend 20, I'll just
save $4 or $3 or whatever it is. Yeah, perfect. So
right.
All right. So fond memory. It's good. Get into the story of this game, and we're going. I really liked our first show, by the way. I know we went on some like diatribes. I think it was done very well. Kudos to ourselves. I thought that first one I listened to, and I was like, what a fun episode on the X-Men. So I'm glad that we're embracing our mutant side and our Homo superior side, as Magneto would call it, looking at these games. So good job, us.
Yeah. You know what? I actually have a couple of our last episodes were really, really kind of good. So
yeah,
I've enjoyed them. Hopefully everybody else has enjoyed them. We kind of go off on tangents, but I think we're just steering into the skid at this point.
I mean, it could be, and it can't be worse than our last episode where we talked in depth about Metal Gear Solid for 2 hours. We were going over 2 hours easily. I had to stop us. I had to cut us off. So
yeah, we really had to cut that short.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no, it's an interesting game, and I even wrote notes, and I know all of our longtime listeners know I don't write notes. So I just kind of show up. I actually wrote notes, everybody. That's how much I like this game.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Like we could have played it. Like we could have recorded the show earlier. I pushed it back a week because I was like, I do want to give this game the hour, and like it's worth it. It's pretty fun. Like it's up there with Jurassic Park's. I would say like my 2 favorite Game Gear games we've now probably looked at.
Yeah, and like games that I vividly have good memories with. Like the Jurassic Park game is like so much fun, and like I still love shooting those dinosaurs. It's so classic. And then this, just like with all the characters that you love, and I think that the sprite art or the pixel art's really well done. And as a fan of the cartoon, like a lot of like stuff I recognize and stuff that like makes my mind wonder, because like you don't get like a lot of the Brood.
Yeah.
So to actually get like it to be kind of like a scary, evil alien place, it's like this would be where the Brood hang out. So
hey, look at that! I found on thegamer.com the best 9 Game Gear games. This made number 4. Cool.
Makes sense because this game's classic.
So what's better than it? Rystar, GG Shinobi, and Sonic Triple Trouble. And then there's a Tales game. There's a couple RPGs. Defenders of Oasis, Megami Tensei Gaiden, Last Bible, and Crystal Warriors. Interesting. All right. Cool. So there you go. So I'm glad that we both like it, and it's appreciated by some type of retro community out there. So good job. Wonder if they owned a copy though, and only spent $16 on it.
Yep. I'm actually looking at it right now, and I might just do the old auction, see if I can scoop it up for cheaper.
Well, all right. Anyways, so story. Let's focus. Get through this game, and then you can talk whatever you want. Magneto has captured all of the X-Men. It is up to Wolverine and Cyclops, the 2 most incapable members of the team, to rescue the remaining members and head to Avalon to take down Magneto. Cool. All right. Great.
Yep. So what level did you start with first?
I wrote them in terms of, I think, how you scroll through them. But we can talk my strategy as they come, All right, so this is kind of if you were on the screen and you scroll down, this is the order. Okay, I played on normal difficulty. I didn't play on Piece of Cakes. We got our 2 Madripoor and the Savage Lands. All right, so stage 1, in theory, default is the Hellfire Club. So you have to move through the Hellfire Club mansion. There's a maze of elevators. You move through the roof and then drop down some columns. And at the bottom you find the boss, Sebastian Shaw. He is invincible. Unless you get him to stand on the fire or that's on the ground or under some gas that's coming from the roof, and then he dies. All right.
Yep. Yeah, so I always hated this level as a kid because I'd get lost.
Yep.
So I actually wrote down what you got to do is you got to go to far left one as far as the first time, and then it's the first one right to your right, and then it's the last one on your left, and then your last one on your left.
Yes. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're at Sebastian Shaw, and you can just if you do this at a not first, and you have let's say somebody who has flying Rogue or Storm, you can actually just fly above the fire traps, and he'll just stand underneath you and just stand on the fire traps and die because you also don't really lose a lot of energy power while you're just standing still.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Very easy. Also, I didn't know you can jump jump through the floors and jump through the walls in certain spots. So I think that's why I struggled.
Interesting. Yeah. So my first time through, actually, I did got through the elevator areas on my first try, and I was like, oh. And actually, I think we were about to record a podcast because you called me and I accidentally pressed my speed button and Shaw killed me, and I was like, son of a gun. When I replayed it, it took me a couple tries, but yeah, not super confusing. And I might have had a flying character who was killed by Sebastian Shaw, so I had to restart. So you don't have lives in this game, you only have characters. Once a character dies, you don't get to use them anymore. So if you lose your Storms, your Rogues, that's unfortunate. So
yeah, got to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, so I might have just flown up to the ceiling, got under the gas and just flown up to the ceiling and just watched his health drain and just pressed the speed button and just watched his health slowly drain, and that's how I won. So it was great.
Oh yeah, the enemy health and damage they take in this game is ridiculous. Yeah. So
well,
prepared for that.
I think he must have been because I was literally up on I flew out of the boss area, and there's some gas stuff, so he was just walking back and forth. So I think because of that, he wasn't just in one spot. He was trying to find me, quote unquote, and he was getting hit by gas periodically. So it took a little while, right? So. Right. And I might have flown through the majority of it, so I didn't have that much power left. Anyways, you get that Nightcrawler, though, so congratulations. You got the worst character in the game.
Yep. I left this level to literally second to last.
Yeah. I did it second, I think, because I think I followed this order for the most part outside of I might have done level 5 first. So, but on the stage 2, the Morlock Tunnels. So this is the most Sega level in the game. It's not that tough, but it's multi-leveled instead of linear, and it's this kind of weird trick path, and if you don't find it, you have to kind of double back, or else you just end up going in these dead circles, or you find dead ends. It's not really my cup of tea, and there's there's one route through this big open world, and Sega did this awesome. Every Sonic game is this big, massive, sprawling world, but there's only one path through it. Everything else is just these weird pitfalls, or I don't know. And Sega did this so often in their platformers, and it's really annoying, and it's a struggle to get back to. And I don't know why Sega is just the way they are.
Yeah, it's kind of so you have to. It's a multi, it's vertical and horizontal. Mm-hmm. But it's lots of double backs. Mm-hmm. So there's times where you instinctually want let's say go all the way to the right, then you kind of get to the end and you're okay, so I guess I move all the way back to the left, and then you have to just zigzag your way down, but it never feels like you're going in the right direction. It just kind of feels like you're just bumbling away. It's confusing. Not a great level, a little too confusing and not straightforward. But if you have someone who can fly, it makes it a lot easier. So
if you do my strategy and play level 5 first, and you just use that character, you can fly literally through the mansion. And this one, you just fly around, and there's no platforming challenge. And you find your path, and you just kind of go. A boss here is a little tough with that particular character. If you had a Cyclops or anyone with a projectile, it'd be easier. Callisto, she's got a big staff. She kind of pokes at you. You get Storm. I wrote, this is the worst level in the game. I hate Sega levels. They're annoying. They don't like give you enough detail, right? Like there's like bottomless pits, but they don't show you there's bottomless pits. You just fall.
Yeah, it's too zoomed in.
Yeah.
Because they want the characters to look good, but they also like lay out the game as if you can know the whole map, but you just can't.
No.
If you have Rogue in this one, you can actually just like fly up to a certain spot, and because Rogue just kind of does this little awkward kick in the air, you can actually just like find the right pixel and kick, just like hover and kick her in the head.
Yeah.
It's quite amusing to me.
I might have read through the walkthrough that Rogue is like invulnerable for like 3 or like 4 of the 5 or 5 of the 6 boss fights or something like that. So
yeah, like she was added in, and like they did not think about the.
No.
Well, one of my first notes in this thing is collision detection. So her collision detection is just all off.
Yeah.
And it just like breaks the game in so many ways. And you abuse that just so you can beat this game and not lose a single X-Men, because that's important. Don't want to lose a single hero.
No, you never want to do that. All right. No. So where are we at? So we're on to stage 3, Brood Cave. Maybe the best stage in the game. Ooh, there are a bunch of fun branching paths that make you kind of want to explore, and you're rewarded by figuring out this stage. It isn't really a maze; it's an actual level, and it like kind of loops back in on itself. The boss here is the Brood Queen, and if you have any projectile guys, she isn't very hard.
Yeah. This is the easiest level I think in the game, but it's also like because it's so properly laid out. There's water and waterfalls, but like with Cyclops, who I picked, you can just like angle down from the top and actually like sniper, so it's even easier. But yeah, this game is this level actually I should say is my favorite. I love the Brood. I love that after this I think you get Psylocke, and it's like, oh, I gotta rescue her first, most important character, and then yeah, but it's just like it's ominous. There's lots of health pickups, so it's not. You can easily just like spam and walk around, just like blasting people with your optic beams as Cyclops. So it's very forgiving, but also has like a neat little like you have to jump up on like this one area. You have to jump on the same platform, and you can see it slowly move down. And it's like that's kind of like an intuitive little, like it's not a crazy puzzle, but it's a smart puzzle that like there's this thing that looks different than everything else. Maybe you should jump on it, and then as you jump on it, it shifts down, and then so you just jump on it a bunch of times, and it'll just like slowly drop.
I remember those little whatever they want to call it, that it being less hard, like it moving more as a kid. So like in this playthrough, I had to jump maybe 20 times to get it to kind of like break through, and I remember as a kid it was like 4 or 5. So
yeah, no, it's definitely like your like the memory, like you definitely think about things like, oh, way bigger or way more difficult or way more easy as a kid, and just like the memory is like not quite what it used to. But that's why it's nice to go back and replay these games, because then you realize you're like, wait a minute, this thing bloody takes forever. Like I gotta jump on it for but I just like that, like that's one of the few little puzzles in the game. Not a lot of other things have puzzles like this where you have to kind of like use the environment. Most of the time it's like, here's an elevator.
Yeah, no, it's good. You get Psylocke, that's unlockable here, so now you're the second worst enemy or character in the game. Great. Probably used her the second most as a kid. Stupid. I like the enemies, the boss, level design. Good job, game.
Yeah, definitely my favorite level.
Yeah, cool. Broods definitely thought they were like bigger parts of the X-Men. I remember we had like a novel about them one time. I think there's like one in the cartoon, but really the Brood don't do much. They're kind of like the lamest of the space parts of Marvel.
Yeah, they don't get a lot of love, and then when they do, it's Marvel at comic book writers, so it's very campy. So dumb things happen. But it's always like been like reminded me of like the Xenomorph of the X-Men universe. Yeah. So you're like, they're threatening, but they just never do it.
And I mean, I guess like the Morlocks are pretty lame. Like Callisto is kind of a like, doesn't she lose in the cartoon? Like it's like episode 5, like leadership of the Morlocks to Storm, right? Yeah. And the Hellfire Club,
but she has to live in the sewers because she has one eye.
Yeah, she's a freak. Well, she's like kind of like
Yeah, it's like
a noble protector, I guess, right? And like I guess the Hellfire Club is like important to the Dark Phoenix saga, which they always love to blow. Which I'm kind of like, I'm at that point. I'm like, I think I'm over. I've seen No Phoenix like 2 or 3 times in the movies. I've seen it in the cartoon.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about it again, right?
Yeah, it's super overdone. It's also like, I mean, there's the Phoenix Saga, and then there's the Dark Phoenix Saga, and it's always very preachy. And like whenever the Phoenix shows up, it's always like, I am the fire, blah 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 blah.
And
like
is it an alien entity? Is she born with it? Is it Maybelline? We'll never know.
Who knows?
We'll never know. But stage 4 is the Savage Land. So you battle through a jungle, unless you use Rogue, and then you literally can fly over the whole level. It's great.
Yep. And yeah, if you just fly, and it's amazing, because if like honestly, but by the time you kind of like get start running low, if you just kind of keep your eyes like you don't fly too high or whatever, there's probably another energy pickup and some health, and you grab that and you keep going.
That's it. Yeah, there's little 4-armed guys. There's pterodactyls flying around, and the boss here is another pterodactyl. What's his name? Sauron. And if you crouch on the right-hand side ledge and kick, he kind of gets stuck in a loop and he dies.
Yep. It's he's a strong guy.
Yeah, I did get through it once as Cyclops as well, but then as I was like kind of like going toe to toe with him, I had that point where I was like had 2 hits left, and I knew there was health, and then I had 1 hit left, and then I went to run for it, and he like caught me, and I died, and I was like, that sucks. This level's okay thematically; it's very interesting. The world design is fine. It's just really long. Like even like when I jump up to the top with Rogue and I'm flying across, by the time my energy meter drains for the second time, I'm like, guys, this level is like far too long and uninteresting. Like they could have just shrank them all just a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's got that, like you said, the Sega syndrome, where it's padding just for padding.
Well,
you're like, hey, this level goes on about like 40% too long.
And Sega was so proud of themselves. They're like, look at these big levels, and we have this great memory, and we can compress our data. We can have these big, long, but like they're just the same thing, right? Whereas a Nintendo game, a Mario game, like they have an obstacle and they show you it easily, and then they show you another obstacle, and now it's like, what if we took a twist on the first obstacle? Okay, and now a twist on the second obstacle, and now both obstacles together, and that's a Mario level. And Sega's like,
yeah, or they do like, hey, this is the world, so it's kind of like it's not the same level, but it's the same theme spread out. And I mean, they could easily have done that, like just have you load into different load points and have
but
like
the Savage Land is just
Savage Land part
there's
1,
a tree,
part 2,
there's
part
some
3.
platforms, here's an enemy, here's a fire pit, go, like repeat 20 times, right?
Yeah. And you just like have a little bit, take too much damage for such little effort.
But we're on to stage 4, 5, and like 4 and 5, because I played this game a lot as easy as a kid, like normal difficulty. These always seem like prestigious, right? So we're in Madripoor, which is, I believe, a Japanese place. I actually didn't look that up. It's a linear straight line level. You can climb up on some Japanese buildings, jump over some water, and fight guys with guns. You do this level first because Rogue is super overpowered. The boss here is Omega Red. If you have someone with projectiles, he dies really quickly. If you try and fight him with Nightcrawler, good luck.
Yeah. It's lots of ninjas. But if you have somebody who can fly, you just use the old fly and move right trick. What feels like forever.
Yeah, it's long. So you get Rogue, one of the worst levels. I think I wrote it down as the worst level in the game, and then I played the Morlock Tunnels, and I was like, it's not bad. It's just long and boring.
Yeah, and it's just like kind of, I mean, it's not a puzzle. It's not like complicated.
No.
You literally just move right.
Yes.
And then you get to Omega Red, and then I had Cyclops, so you just stutter step with them.
Yep.
And just like shoot, walk away, shoot, walk away, shoot, walk away, jump over him. And you just repeat that, and he dies. It's not complicated, but I think a fun thematic level. So
it's again all right. So there's our 5 levels. Shorter experience. We're already at Avalon, the final area. You have to fight through some tight corridors. There's robots that die with 1 hit, or the men that die with 2 hits. I don't know why they made the robots worse than the men. It's a bit of a maze. The second part where like the blue area with the laser beams really tripped me up. Like I have no idea how to get through there, and then you just have to kind of go up and down a column a couple times. and you get to fight Magneto. You fight through a very annoying maze. There aren't any good maps online, so good luck. Boss here is Magneto. There aren't many power-ups near the end, so you should have full power, full health, which is, I think, nice, right? Kind of go mono a mono. Basically, just land, or let him land, shoot him, and repeat. And you win this fun experience. I played as Iceman, because I heard Iceman has the best defense and the best offense.
Makes sense. Yeah. My notes are very confusing, because it's literally just me being lost.
Okay.
Because it's, so you start in a gray area,
Yep.
you go to the top left.
Yeah, easy.
And then you stay in, once you're in the blue area, then you stay the top and move left until you see a blue X-Men power-up. Then move down and stay right until you reach a gray area. So it's kind of confusing. And then once you're in the gray area, move to the top left. So it's kind of like, if you're in a gray area, move to the top left. If you're in the blue area, move right and down.
Interesting.
And just kind of repeats that pattern. There's some, like, you avoid some fall damage.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, some up and down sections until you reach the next. But if you keep moving left, you'll reach the next gray area. And again, move to the top and left. Until you reach to, like, a big open area. And then just start moving down and left. And then I think there's, like, a little back and forth area. And you just move up. And before you know it, you're in, like, some blue moving platforms, and you're at Magneto. Yeah. It's pretty confusing.
Unless you've just played the game, and then Tyson described it literally perfectly. So,
yes.
I was like, I'm falling.
It's like the just gray top left. If you're in the blue, just like right.
Yeah.
Or if that fails, right and down.
Interesting. Yeah, no, it's a big area. With Nightcrawler, you can teleport through walls, so you can actually cut off big sections. So you're only doing like 5 or 6 screens. It's just an impossible boss. I mean, if you really want to play on difficult mode, I guess there's probably a way to beat it as Nightcrawler, right? So just to recap, those are the 6 stages. I'll read after we're kind of done. Oh no, I think I read it. I'll read the ending. So stage 1, Hellfire Club. I beat it as Rogue. Who'd you beat it as?
Hellfire Club. I think I used either Storm or Rogue.
Okay.
Probably Rogue.
Yeah, okay. Morlock Tunnels, I beat it with Cyclops, I believe. No, actually with Rogue.
Yeah, I also used Rogue.
Okay. Brood Cave, I used Wolverine.
I used Cyclops.
Okay. Savage Land, I used Rogue.
Rogue. Actually, I used Storm for this one.
Okay, and then Madripoor, I used Cyclops.
Cyclops as well.
And then Avalon, I used Iceman.
I used Rogue because if you crawl next to him and you can kick him, and then you can just crawl away, and you can just avoid all those beams and nonsense.
Great.
Just crawl around and kick them.
Yeah.
It seems to be a solid strategy. Or fly above their heads and kick them.
I heard she was good. I heard that because Iceman has so much health, it's just like you almost can't lose, right? Like at one point, Magneto was down to like 2 hits, and I had like full health, and I was like, good for me, and I had tons of ice powers, and I went and recharged, and I was like, well, you're definitely dead now, so that's good. All right, so. Yeah. There's our strategy.
So my order was Brood levels, then I went to Madripoor, and then I did the sewers, Savage Land, Hellfire Club, and then Asteroid M.
Cool.
That was my order.
Yeah, I think I did. So. I think I started in Madripoor, and then I did the order. So then I went Hellfire, Morlock, Brood, Savage Land.
Right.
Basically, get Rogue, beat the game.
Yeah. Race to Rogue.
Yeah.
Maybe save Psylocke. Because, got to save her first. She needs to be saved.
Yes. I mean, she's not very good. I feel bad. Like, how did the aliens... I mean, good job, Magneto. Like, everyone else makes sense. Like, he has relationships, I guess, with Sauron. Okay, cool. He ties to the Savage Land. Callisto, I can't imagine, is a tough one. Sebastian Shaw. Okay, cool. I could see Omega Red. Why not? But, like, good for him, like, getting the Brood Queen to take an X-Man, right?
Yeah, and to like hold them captive. It's like it makes sense like in the later comics because there's actually like a brood,
like a sentience going
broodling or something, and he actually can like talk and is like sentient. Right. Like the Gremlins 2 joke with the smart gremlin.
Okay.
Imagine that, but a brood.
That works. All right, cool.
And like he's a short little guy, and it's goofy.
All right, so to the ending, now that we finally, after how long have we been playing this game for? It came out in 94, we probably played it in 95. Was that 20, like 27 years? Man, we're doing really well on like beating all these games that we haven't like finally beat in our whole lives this year. Good for us. So Professor X shows up and says, "Good work, X-Men." Also, Professor X, well, I guess maybe he was captured by Magneto. That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like us saying, like, "Good job," and we're like, "Yay." We see 4 pictures of X-Men. We see Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Psylocke, and Rogue. Then the credits. All right, current thoughts. This game is pretty good for a handheld experience. The villains and heroes are comic book accurate. They kept the plot very simple. The gameplay isn't anything too crazy, but it makes for a very solid experience. I don't love the Sega platforming levels, and they always just seem to be a bit too big and lead to unnecessary cheap deaths. Great. All right.
Yeah. I mean, this game has a soft spot in my heart. I love it. And it's got I like even the annoying sound effects and stuff. Like it's fun. I think that as far there's not a lot of X-Men games in the world, so we kind of cherish the ones that we do have. It kind of follows a bunch of the levels and plot and gives you lots of characters, and this is exactly what I want from an X-Men game. And considering it was a little handheld experience that we could play on the car to grandma's house, the one guy said, you know what, this is pretty solid. Yep. They pack in a lot of value and have tons of marvelousness. So it's good time. I wish this was more available. I say that every time. I would even pay for a crappy remake for the bloody for the mobile. Just at this point, give me options.
There must be licensing. There has to be the licensing. But yeah, right. Throw.
Yeah, but what are those 7 people is holding out?
But
really?
Sega's sitting there, and he's like, okay, we'll give you X-Men 1, X-Men 2, Clone Wars, and the 3 Genesis games. Here's 5 X-Men games. Here's a package. It's $40 for the Switch.
Yeah. And you would probably get people to buy it, or at least buy it when it goes on sale.
100%, right? So they're definitely missing out. What would you change? Yeah. So both liked the experience. Both said A+. Yeah, if you can play it, find it, play it. It's a good experience. What would I change? So I'd clean up the levels. Some are boring and too long. Have maybe some trick paths. Or maybe make the boss fights a little more interesting. Maybe we have mini bosses. I don't know.
Yeah, those are all good suggestions. Or maybe you could cut the levels down and do Morlock level or stage 1, stage 2, and then stage 3 is the boss fight. Kind of mix it up a little bit more, so you're not just getting lost and meandering.
Although I think when I was playing once, maybe as Wolverine, I ran out of health while fighting the Queen, and I was like, I have to go back. And you can actually explore the whole level, but all the enemies are gone. And it's kind of a fun way to reboost yourself. And apparently Wolverine also has mutant healing power. So not only does he have claws for increased attack, but his health randomly regenerates. So at some point when I was walking around, all of a sudden I just looked and I had full health, and I was like, great. Went back and delivered the last couple punches and won. So.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about Wolverine, and that's kind of you can cheese that with him. Just if you take damage, get to a safe space, because none of the enemies respawn. Once you kill them, they're dead. And it's kind of a neat way of doing things. They obviously they loads in the whole level all at once. So if you kill any of the enemies, there's no respawning shenanigans. It's
that is nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
again,
that's why
technically
this game's a little bit of a gem.
Yeah. So. Yeah, sweet, awesome, cool. So that ends this game. Done with that one. 2 down, 1 to go. Boom, boom. Now we get to go to our segment called Previously on X-Men, but the whole series is called Previously on X-Men. So obviously I made these notes before we did the marketing. We checked with our CMO, our chief marketing officer, and ran with it. So Previously on X-Men. Right now, if you're in 94, January, what is going on? So in the comic run, we get January 94 X-Men 2nd Series, number 28, Devil in the House. So Sabretooth is taken in by the X-Men, which causes Jubilee to have nightmares, and Jean to question why Xavier allowed them into their house. There is something about giving him glow, and maybe they don't do it, or they do it. I'm not sure.
Not familiar with this run, but it kind of reminds me of that episode in the comic or in the cartoon where Xavier takes in what's his name, Sabretooth, and tries to probe his mind, and then I think Jubilee's hanging around at some point and he breaks out.
Something does happen in the TV series, which is probably around the same time as this, maybe a little before, and it is kind of historic. I think Sabretooth, he comes and goes. I don't know.
Yeah. He's, I don't know. He comes off as just a vicious, murdering monster.
Yeah.
So for Xavier to be like, come on in, I rehabilitated him just like I did you, Wolverine. Wolverine's like, I take that as a freaking insult. I'm not a mad person. I just was tortured.
Yeah.
He's like, he's actually just a horrible monster. It's like, no, I can save him. It's like, it's a little bit of arrogance, but okay.
Yeah, that's good old arrogant Professor X. Son of a gun. What about the animated series? So what episode did we look at today? So technically, the episode should have been, it's right in between A Rogue's Tale, Season 2, Episode 9, or Beauty and the Beast, Season 2, Episode 10. But I control everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back a couple episodes and we're going to look at Time Fugitives Part 2, Season 2, Episode 7, which is the second story of our time-traveling friend Bishop from the first episode. And coincidentally, just so you guys are like, if you're ready and you're waiting for it, we could be watching, I think it's like Nightcrawler at the season, like Season 3, Season 4 for the next game, or we could watch the third and final Bishop storyline. So we're doing time stuff. It's good times, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's also interesting that it's Rogue and Nightcrawler's like episodes, and it's like brother and sister, like fake brother and sister, maybe real brother and sister, step siblings. And we're like, nah, we could kind of make this connection, but we're gonna go with time travel with Bishop and Cable, actually.
Yeah.
So,
This is a good. Not just Bishop, but we get like the coolest X-Man, Cable. That we have to think about time travelers. We want to think about guys from the future. Time Fugitives Part 2, which is kind of, if you didn't watch Part 1, it's just basically the events of this without Cable. It's kind of weird. So Cable goes back in time and like rewrites. So event 1 was him watching what could happen, and this is what actually happened. So cue up the clue music. Dun, 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 dun. Here's what actually happened. So in the year 3999 AD, Cable watches as Bishop disrupts the timeline and kills his son. No, Tyler! He travels back to the 90s to intervene and stop Bishop. Bishop tries to, which results, I believe, in a battle. Then Bishop tries to calm down a Friends of Humanity rally against some mutants who are in quarantine. Cable shows up, as do the X-Men, and we see a brawl between the Friends of Humanity, Cable, and Bishop / the X-Men.
Yeah, it's, you got to think, like, just for animation's sake, they reused a lot of animation here.
100%.
But it's like, it's interesting how they expanded on the story. It like, you kind of like intertwines it. So like when you're a kid, you're like, wow, this is like really like, I remember this scene. So that's what these people were doing. And it was a very like fresh take, but I don't know, this has been done so many times now. Here's what's playing out that you are familiar with, and then we're gonna insert these characters, hide them behind the door. It's like Marty or Back to the Future did it.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
On the second viewing, they're like, the Friends of Humanity is a threat. Like, they're actually battling the X-Men and Bishop, and Cable just comes and like bitch slaps and like throws one of the guys into a dumpster, and they take off. And I'm like, that's how you write out the Friends of Humanity, I guess. Good for them.
We had other priorities. Cable's here. Our the 90s edgelord of the X-Men universe is here, so we gotta roll out the red carpet.
Yeah, good old edgelords. All right, so so Bishop tries to stop the Friends of Humanity leader Creed from infecting Beast during some trial, and Wolverine is captured by Cable.
Yes. I don't really have anything else to add.
No, this one doesn't have a bus
like,
crashing moment. I'm sorry, everyone. It's kind of boring. Like, at some point, Cable kind of looks through and like gets a quote, right? And he talks about how he knows who Jean Grey and Cyclops are, and he kind of like glares at them. He learns about Storm's powers, and then he sees Wolverine. And I guess the overall arching plot is there's a virus that kills millions of people, but billions live in the future as a result. So if you don't have this virus breaks out, it's gonna like destroy the whole future or something like that, right?
Yeah, well, it's so like kind of fuzzy because essentially it just comes off that Bishop or Cable's doing what Bishop did to the X-Men.
Right, yeah, it's
like,
the continually.
But Cable's like, yeah, but I'm doing it to you, and it's like, okay, but are we gonna get a fourth or third time traveler and a fourth showing up and be like, but trillions, and like just like another one and another one? It's like, okay, guys, we need to
it does lead.
This.
So when the assassination didn't happen, that stopped the future, but the future is still bad because a virus broke out and killed a bunch of people. So Bishop goes to stop the virus from being released, but the virus needs to. It's muddied. Let's put it that way. It's definitely muddied. So, all right. So finally, our heroes go after the inventor of the virus in a mansion. He turns out to be Apocalypse. And rather than destroying the X-Men, Cable shows up, infects Wolverine, which produces antibodies, which means the antibodies exist. So when the virus does eventually get out, it doesn't kill everybody. And it stops Apocalypse's plan. And in the first one, like, Apocalypse gets like giant and he goes to crush and kill everyone. And Cable's like, to save my future, I must save, or I have to help Apocalypse.
Yeah, it's super hammy, and Cable, the voice actor of Cable, just really like hammers the Apocalypse.
Yeah. Oh gosh,
like he can't say it just like Apocalypse. No. He has to be like, Apocalypse, and every time.
So now that he stopped, my name's Cable. Yeah. Remember it, Apocalypse.
He's like, I don't care who you are. I'm leaving.
All right.
And this is my stop. Yeah. Gets off the bus, leaves show.
So finally, Apocalypse, instead of destroying the X-Men and growing big this time, he's like, oh, you've defeated me. I guess I'll just leave. Goodbye. Cable goes to the future and reunites with his son, Tyler. And in the future, we see Bishop travel back and find out that Wolverine's like a skeleton in glass. And Forge is like, I don't know what you've done in the past, but the future still sucks. And Bishop goes, I'll tell you about my plan some other time.
Right. Yep. Like, but in this universe, Wolverine is still just like in death's door, slowly recovering because he got blasted down to his bloody skeleton. Like, let's just hang that in the background.
Yeah. That's like, poor guy.
Good. Yep. And no matter what happens, Wolverine's still getting shot down to his skeleton. It's like, lucky he it can regenerate, It's like he'd be dead so many times over, this poor man.
Poor guy.
Very cool episode. Like, I mean, I'm kind of dumping on it here and there, but I like the Cable Bishop dynamic, and I always thought that these two were super interconnected, but really this is their only episode together.
Kind of technically, Beyond Good and Evil Part 4, they're both fighting with Wolverine
in it.
Yeah.
Okay. But isn't Bishop just walking on a rainbow road?
And literally, he shows up at the last second and shoots down some of the psychics, and like Cable's in Apocalypse's little castle, and they end up like standing and fighting for a bit. But yeah, like essentially, this is the Cable Bishop crossover. They battle at one point, right? So
yeah, very cool. I think that like time travel was super fresh, and like everybody just watched Terminator and was just like super jazzed on it. Very cool. I like it. I like that Apocalypse shows up. I kind of like roll my eyes when he's just like, well, I am gone, and leaves. And it's like, okay, interesting. He could have fought and easily beaten all these guys, but you do you, Apocalypse. Yeah. Oh, and then I was going to mention about the whole like Cable, like, my name's Cable, and you're like, so it kind of leaves in the mind that like Cyclops names his son Cable out of respect for this character, but that's actually who Cable is. So like, and they have this kind of like one line, it's like, oh, do you have any family where you are? It's like, well, I used to. And it's like, has this like really awkward pause, and like, oh, okay, everybody who knows that like Scott and Jean's like this is their son. So, but they're meeting him like when he's potentially older than they are. So it's very, very interesting, but it just goes by in a passing like 2 sentences. Yes.
Review?
Yes. On to the review.
All right, cool. So review. So favorite part. So we have to look, what is our favorite part of this episode? I said how ambitious this story is. It retells the story of part 1, but includes Cable into it. And if you think hard about it, it doesn't really make sense. Right? I think headcanon, you have to think part 1 was Cable seeing what could have happened if he didn't intervene, and then this is kind of what actually happened. So part 1 is just kind of a little bit more of a fleshed out story, but it's not really necessary to the plot, I suppose. Tyson, what's your favorite part?
My favorite part is the Cable Bishop crossover. I think that these two, like, meeting up, are two time traveling mutants, are just like, that's super cool. Like, these are some of my favorite characters. I love Bishop, and then like seeing him interact with Cable is awesome. Because Cable is a little bit overly dramatic and comes off kind of like Hamlet or Macbeth or somebody who just like is always like crying to the heavens. But there's no bus. There's no bus in this one. But yeah, it's definitely the Bishop Cable dynamic of like kind of pointing fingers at each other, doing for the exact same thing. So I like it.
And I think so. First appearance, Cable was like 1990, and they actually didn't decide that he was a time traveling Nathan Summers, who was the son of Scott and Jean Grey, until later, right? Because early on he does appear in like season 1 of the X-Men series, and I believe at that point they're like, "Who are you?" And he's like,
just
"Yeah, he's like, I'm the wild man of Borneo or something." And yeah, he's just this random guy, and then he appears like randomly thousands of years in the future. So continuity wise in the show, it means like doesn't make sense at all.
No, and we all just kind of like, maybe he was just time traveling, doing some stuff there. But it's like, I think the artist who created him was Rob Liefeld, who is very known for doing like big muscular men, and he's very 90s.
Wait, who did you think it was?
Like Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, so I have created by Luis Simonson and Rob Liefeld. All right, there you go. Huh.
Yeah. Hey, see, I know a little something every now and then.
All right.
Yep. And he also, Rob Liefeld, doesn't like to draw feet. So if you ever see his drawings, it's usually like characters will have their feet hidden behind text or another person, but they'll have big muscly arms.
Yeah. He is a buff boy. His outfit is also really stupid. He has like a cybernetic arm. He's got this big cool scar on his face, gray hair. He's got like a little side piece on his head, but then he's got like a blue shirt with suspenders and like shoulder pads under the suspenders.
Oh yeah, it makes no sense.
Cool,
there's just like layers and tactical stuff for tactical sake.
Like it's like those. I guess if he has to push. Anyways, so most memorable part of this episode. So Jean Grey reading Cable's mind and seeing that it's her and Scott in his memories. Okay, all right. Cable saying that he knows Jean and Cyclops. All right. Cable or Cyclops reprimanding Bishop for standing up for mutants who are being harassed in a safe house. How gross the virus looks when it infects Creed. Apocalypse saying he is greater than any mutant. Wolverine thwarting the virus, and Apocalypse proclaiming, "My beautiful virus," and how badass the X-Men are when fighting against Cable at the rally. They seem very formidable, and you understand why this team is like a stalwart, one of the greatest Marvel teams, right? They go up against the Avengers, because when they're all like not being sidetracked or like trapped, like, and they're all going full force, like they have a lot of firepower.
Yeah, and they have a really strong dynamic of like their powers work well with each other, and that's one thing that they don't really touch on too much until like, I guess the comics they did a lot, but like until like way later, maybe in the like Days of Future Past, they kind of start bringing it up, but it's like these characters have like a really strong synergy, and they work really, really well. But yeah, I think that maybe my most memorable part is the whole like Jean, Cable, Cyclops interaction, because that's like the tipping part where it's like, as a kid you're just like, wait, what? And it was like, I need to know more, and we didn't have Wikipedia back in the day, so it was like, I'm gonna just bug every older person that I meet who has any passing knowledge about X-Men and pick their brains about what they know.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, least favorite part, and I just said how easily Apocalypse is defeated at the end. They kind of defeat the virus. He doesn't attack the X-Men. I feel like maybe he should have tried to like kill them still, right? Like they seem like a threat. They're all in his lab. He could have like smushed them, but he's like, "Oh, I will just walk away."
Yeah, definitely. It's like such a letdown. Like we have these big, awesome storylines that have like massive time traveling implications with billions alive at stake, and Apocalypse literally gets like, Wolverine gets thrown into one jar, and it's like, oh no, everything's ruined. Well, I'm out. It's like, do you have a dinner reservation? Like, why are you just piecing out? Like, it makes sense if he's like in a weaker form, or it shows that like there was something that like about this, but yeah, it just like it could have been literally anyone else. It could have been Mr. Sinister or someone who didn't need to be like Apocalypse, but it was Cable, so you had to he has to say Apocalypse, and it's like just kind of has to be forced in there. But yeah, not the greatest.
How about your least favorite part?
That was my least favorite part.
Criticism. It just Apocalypse really isn't a threat here, right? Like he appears early on. There's like a cure. He makes the Horsemen, and they fight him in a ship, and they learn about his like kind of origins, and then they see him here, and then I don't think he appears again until like Beyond Good and Evil. And he's like, I have created time, and I'm gonna rule everything. And I was like, you just don't seem like you're that big of a deal, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, he's definitely not establishing himself as a very meaningful threat. Like there's a couple times where like he just stands up to all the X-Men, just like unleashing everything they can, and he'll just like grow, and then he doesn't do anything with it. Like he's like, oh, okay, you can withstand all our blasts. I guess our powers are useless against you. And then he just stands there monologuing, and you're like, I feel like he just likes to talk.
Yeah.
So I guess, but my criticisms, I think it's just a bit. There's not enough kind of stuff going on here.
Yeah, I could say that.
If they did actually include like an Apocalypse battle where they actually have to like overthrow him or make him have to retreat to his time travel so he can like go into sarcophagus or whatever, but it's like they just don't really bring it up until like the next one. I'm like, that's some of that information could be easily like dripped into this episode and padded out, so it feels like you get 2 full episodes, not one and a director's and like a commentary. Almost like it just like it could be just like you're watching last episode, but with Cable's commentary, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually where it was a funny episode of C. Like, like you just like instead of doing that, like you actually get 2 full strong episodes. So that's my criticism.
Right, cool. And then finally, a praise one on a positive before we get out of here. So great storytelling again. This series is so mature. It deals with such high concept ideas. No wonder I loved it as a kid show. It holds up today, right? It does. There are some questions. Is it the strongest of the 3 time travel stories? No, I think it's the weakest. I think Days of Future Past is a better story. I think One Man's Worth together works out to be a better story. But this one is probably the weaker of the 3 storylines. Still not bad, but not the greatest. Tyson, what is your final praise?
I just like the ambition of it. Like it's cool to have like this time traveling episode, and then like with Bishop, and then followed up by like, but Cable is another time traveler coming back in time to fix his mistake, and it's super interesting because it's like, that it's very high concept, very sci-fi, and I love that. Lots of cool new characters get a massive crossover with like 2 titans of the time traveling mutant world. It's super neat. You get lots of Easter eggs. I just want more of this episode. Like it's almost one of those things where if they could just tie this in, like they essentially do with what Days of Future Past, not Days of Future Past, the next time traveling one with all the psychics.
Yes, Beyond Good and Evil.
Like that, like Beyond Good and Evil. It's like they do kind of tie it in, so like that we do get an expanded thing on it. I just kind of like it feels definitely like a little bit of the weaker, and I feel like it could easily just be stronger with maybe this establishing Apocalypse is like super strong, and it really takes the X-Men, Cable, and Bishop all like teaming up to take him down, as opposed to just like I'm leaving.
Well, it's kind of like a quick, cute like, didn't Cable outsmart the whole story, and now everyone's happy because everyone's victorious. It is actually kind of like smart in that sense, right? That Wolverine uses mutant powers to create antigens, which then helps against this plague, which I guess is going to get released into the world, but they essentially have kind of like a cure, which then, if you think about, a bunch of people die, so the population like funnels, and then from that point it grows again for like thousands of years. If it continues to funnel because there's never that like that inward point on the population, in theory there's like way more people in the future that just randomly exist now, right?
Yeah. And I think so it's kind of like that's, But even like Cable's future, he's like, oh, I gotta go save this future. It's like, dude, your time sucks. Like, you were literally like struggling to survive and having to run like rebel guerrilla tactics against the apocalypse because your time's so messed up. It's like, I'm gonna save this because my son. It's like, seems like you're doing it just so you can, like, just for your own personal gains, not for the betterment of society. So it kind of comes off like underhanded.
All right, okay. And then finally, some trivia on this episode. So Cable mentions how he already knows about Cyclops and Jean Grey. Although not stated in the series, in the comics, Scott and a clone of Jean Grey are Cable's parents. In the follow-up coming X-Men 92, it is revealed that Scott and Jean, the real one, are his parents. So, exciting stuff.
Oh, interesting. So they made it so... What was her... this is going to bug me. What was Jean's clone's name?
Clone. Yeah. Madeline Pryor.
Madeline Pryor, yeah. She was just an Inferno in the comics. But, yeah, not... This is where cloning gets a little convoluted, but comics are weird, so we just kind of like we'll shrug it off. Well, and they just they love that. Like Jean dies, and then like Rachel Summers, their daughter, becomes like Phoenix at some point, and she's just basically a redhead with psychic powers. And then Vulcan becomes the Phoenix, who's like the long lost third brother of the Summers kids, who isn't around when Scott and
Alex
get abandoned by Corsair and their mom. This is like a different one, so they're like stepbrothers, but yeah, he also is like Omega level. He's interesting. I like him because I don't like the Shi'ar stuff and all that thing, but it's also like, you could have just been a new character. We didn't need to make this goofy tie-in and try to Easter like you're like some of those important people across the entire universe, all related. Didn't you know?
That's it. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I would love to stay in chat, but I kind of feel like we have 3 shows coming out maybe on the same time period now. So
potentially. And our episodes are starting to get longer.
Yeah, I see that. So they have 1, 2. We might have 3. All right. So hopefully we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot on this one. Well, all right, cool. Well, with that, maybe we'll wrap this up, and we gotta be faster on one of the other ones, maybe.
Nah, we'll sort it out. We'll just pay it.
There
forward.
We go. So we paid it forward. We had lots to talk about. Rogues, this Game Gear game, good stuff. Time travel, the best. Cool. So with that, I think we say goodbye, and I think next episode is the final Previously on X-Men, because we have to flip some things around. So cool.
Yep. We'll figure it out.
All right. Bye, guys.
Take care, everybody.